Am I sharing the right screen?
First of all, Lee, I'd like to thank you for inviting us to this. It's I think it's a great privilege to be invited. I also want to introduce Kathy Hill, she's in charge of all our marketing and advertising. So she's going to be talking about that and some trends when we get to that part. And for those people who aren't familiar with Oasis Horticulture, Oasis Horticulture is a large seedling and bloomer growing company. We own two sites, a site in Cranbourne in Victoria and another site, our bigger site, which is in Springwood in New South Wales. Now, Melbourne site supplies South Australia and New South Wales does all New South Wales, and we've got an agent in Tasmania called Tibbles that looks after Tasmania. So that's our market. So I'll start off with Kathy first, and she'll talk about some trends.
Very good. Well, I should welcome you and Kathy first anyway, and thank you, but you've done all that. So thanks, Malcolm. Go for it, Kathy.
So can you see that screen?
Yes, we can very clearly.
Good. So what I want to do, so I just want to cover off, between Malcolm and I, we're going to cover off what new products we've got coming this year, but I want to start by talking about some of the macro trends that we consider before we bring new products to market. And also I've got a little bit about some COVID research that has been done that I want to share just some of the highlights with everybody. And then just kind of how we're promoting our products as we go into spring. So in regards to some of the macro trends that we look at, we always look at trends that are happening in the market before we consider what products to bring on. So there was 4 key ones that we had looked at in previous years, say, 2 to 3 years ago, but now there's 5 of them. So the first one is, the trend towards the environment sustainability. This is a big thing for consumers, and it's growing in momentum year on year. So for us, in regards to the climate and sustainability, what that means for us at Oasis is our packaging is a big one. So we've been through a massive transformation in regards to the type of packaging that we have. In regards to polystyrene versus polypropylene, and getting rid of the polypropylene from our business, and also our labels. So for those that do range our products, you would have seen us roll out new packaging in regards to labels and branding. So as part of that, we really considered the shape and the size of the labels, the efficiency of the print runs, how much wastage we were creating from our print runs. And we worked very closely with our supplier to optimize the shapes on the labels. So, that's a big win for, I suppose, for everybody, but also for the environment. Health and wellness. So, people are spending more time considering their health, and their well-being. That's been a trend that's been around for probably about 10 or so years now. So, spending time out in the garden is definitely linked into health and wellness. Shrinking spaces. It's no surprise that backyard plots are getting smaller. So plots are getting smaller. So, kind of all these new estates, the average size is around 450 to 500 square meters, which is, nearly half what it was, say, 20, 30 years ago. Also, in the stats that came out, the ABS stats that came out in 2019, say 20 years ago, 1 in 7 people were living in an apartment. Now it's 1 in 5. So, and families are more, are more used to sacrificing big spaces and big plots of land because it's more affordable to live in a unit. So we're seeing a lot more people living in units and a lot more acceptability of people living in townhouses and units. So, the indoor growing, indoor plants, and also, that smaller backyard plot. So it's important that we consider that before we bring products to the market. People are time poor. No one has time to do anything. It's like we want stuff, we want it now. Hence why for us, we've seen a massive growth in our advanced products. So, flowering packs. We've got the Zest range of, already herbs that are ready to eat and harvest, and the vegetables that are ready to eat. That's been a big growth for us. And the new area that we're really considering is that family focused. So people, during COVID, we talked a lot about people having to spend time together, having to spend time with their family. And so what we saw was a big uplift in, people not having much to do other than spend time in their gardens. So we have a lot of new entrants, what we call new entrants into the gardening category now. So all the products that we consider before we commercialize them are kind of linked into these macro trends. So just there was some great research that came out from various sources over the course of COVID, and they're referenced down there. But our takeouts from some of these surveys that were done were, people gardening through hard times. So really going out into the garden, the big thing that people saw there was it really helped reduce stress and anxiety. That's nothing new. That's something that's, been around for a long time, although it wanes in popularity. So people kind of forget that, spending time out in the garden is a great thing for stress relief. So definitely people related to the fact that when they went out into the garden and spent time, it really reduced their stress and anxiety. The digital gardener, this is a really important one for us as well, for me as a marketer and for our retail customers, is we saw a massive increase in people going online and influencers going online communicating about gardening. And so the good thing for us, I suppose, in this category and in this industry is it really spoke to and attracted a younger demographic. And that's what we need to do for the future of our category and our industries, to make sure that we are communicating to younger generations. So, how-to videos, what to plant, all that type of information. And the younger demographic consume their media through digital. They're not on radio, they're not really watching as much TV, but they are on YouTube and they are on social media. So there was a massive growth of what we call the digital gardener. Food with dignity. So this kind of really applied to, as we went through COVID, people that lost their I suppose, there was a lot of people that were stood down, lost their jobs. Whilst there was a lot of income support and subsidy support, there was a bit of a trend towards, people, I suppose there was that panic buying, because people were worried that they weren't going to be able to, have food, or there were shortages or whatever. So there was a bit of, what we call what the researchers called food with dignity. Staying inside but craving the outside. So there was obviously a lot of lockdowns, a lot of people that were forced to spend, time inside, and the only time they really had to go outside was in their own backyards. So definitely there was this desire, whilst people were stuck inside, they wanted to get outside again. They couldn't go, to their local, wherever they used to go, to the beach or whatever. So yeah, their backyards became that really important source of, that craving to be outside again. The other one was, which I thought was quite interesting, was this instant gratification, which does lead into that I want it now, that kind of, we're all time poor, we want to see it now, we don't want to, grow, well, we do, we want to grow from seed, but less and less reliance on growing from seed and wanting the plant. So, people were wanting to make sure that they could see the fruits of their labour as well. So I thought this was interesting, that people were going for many tiny fruiting or mini habit plants, just to ensure that they had that confidence that they could grow that plant, that they would see the fruits of their labour. Meaningful gifts. This is something that we've seen, I suppose, for quite a few years, that trend away from buying cut flowers. It's a small shift, just a small shift of the dial, but it's really important for our category and our industry, is to that living gifts. So people giving potted plants that are maybe not just one variety, but like a nice hanging basket with multiple varieties in it. That could be considered a gift. So the pot plant lasts a bit longer. Indoors is a great example of this. A plant that you can give that lasts a lot longer. It's not going to die off like cut flowers do. So that was kind of a bit of a trend that the researchers picked up on. Shopping was obviously very different during COVID. how people shopped. You know, they couldn't walk into bricks and mortar, so they became a lot more reliant online. And what was also important was those videos are there to show people how to. So the how-to videos, the blogs, there was a lot more reliance on that type of information during lockdowns. And even coming out of COVID, people are now more savvy and a lot more used to going online to find the information they need. So, you know, COVID did kind of shift the way that people shop. And then this is kind of not as relevant now, but it is still relevant, but not as much, is, you know, the economic outlook. So what is so important for us, and we've talked about this a lot at Oasis, is how do we retain that pandemic gardener? How do we keep them invested in our category? So we estimate the estimations were around 1 million new entrants into the category during COVID. So, you know, people that hadn't gardened before, all of a sudden entered for all these various reasons I've just mentioned, entered the category. We want to retain these people. We're not going to retain all of them. Some of them will drop off, but how do we retain them? How do we continue to market to them, communicate to them? You know, I think our social channels, YouTube and all of that will be really critical. So these are just things that we look at and things that we're focused on in regards to the industry and the category. Was there any questions about any of that? Right.
Sounds good.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, the trick is, as you say, to keep those new customers, and one of the big things is to make sure they're successful.
Yeah.
You know, success breeds, or success brings further success. I think if they're successful, they'll be back. And that's the challenge for the garden centres, to make sure they've got the right information, which I'm sure we all know.
Yeah.
Anyway, there you go. Thank you very much, Kathy.
I'm going to hand over to Malcolm. He's going to talk about some of the new varieties we are bringing out this year.
Okay, to start off with the first, because there's a fair few we're releasing this season. In the flower boutique range, that's 8 punnets in a seedling tray. We've got 2 new zinnias, one called Zinnia Profusion Red Yellow Bicolour. It has a red centre with the yellow petals. It grows 45 centimetres high and about 40 centimetres wide. The Zinnia Profusion Red Bicolour is a double. The Red Yellow Bicolour is a single and also has doubles. The red one also grows to the same height and same width, the 45 by 40 centimetres. We've got a Coleus Wizard mixture improved, which is a mixed Coleus in the punnet. Obviously grows in the shade, can be used as an indoor plant, and is also a little bit more resistant to downy mildew and powdery mildew. What else have we got? Yeah, so fairly tough, but like I said, can be used as an indoor plant. And there's one more, which is Coleus Ruby Heart, the very last one. And obviously the ruby colour is what makes it stands out. It has a yellowy green or chartreuse edging around the outside, but it grows a little bit taller than the mixed Coleus. It grows 65 centimetres tall and about 45 centimetres wide. Again, and grows in a shady spot. You can use it as an indoor plant. But in areas where you get high humidity, it can actually go out in full sun, but that's only in areas where you get high humidity. So they're the 4 new lines in our flower boutique range.
Yeah, I just got half a message. That was probably from before.
Okay, Kathy? Any questions on that lot? Okay, now we had a chance of improving our spreading petunias in our Flower to Go 4-pack range, and we've gone and we've changed all our spreading petunia varieties to a new one. Now what it does, these new colours will actually produce 6 weeks earlier than the previous Crazy series, so they'll flower very, very quickly. In slides that you'll see coming up, we do this range in baskets as well, and you'll see where the flower is virtually touching each other. So it has The flowers are very close to each other. They all have their, what I call personalities. Some are flatter, some of them tend to lift a bit, but they flower 6 weeks earlier than the previous series. We've changed the label. You'll probably notice the label. The label now says, say, for example, spreading blue improved. So it has improved now on every label compared to the old label. So 6 weeks earlier, and the flowers a lot closer together, so a lot more flowers. Got the next one, Kathy? Okay. Now we've got 3. The first one is tomato ping pong. Pink ping pong, which is obviously a tomato the size of a ping pong ball. It's pink. I should go back a step. It's in our garden harvest range, which is 1,200 ml pots in a tray. So tomato pink ping pong, size of a ping pong ball. It's pink. It's an heirloom. And it's a tall grower, so it's what they call an indeterminate variety. It's an heirloom. It's also low in acid. It's high yielding, and it has a very, very sweet flavour. The next one is called Tomato Paul Robinson. Now, straight away, I thought, who's Paul Robinson? Now, Paul Robinson's a famous American. He was known to be a singer, an actor, a political activist. What else was he? He's a singer and actor. He also was an author as well. And this is, I think he lived from the 1870s to the 1890s or something to the 1970s. But Paul Robinson is a beefsteak type tomato. So, but it has a really dark flesh. The tomato itself is 10 centimeters in diameter. Now, the beefsteak types are slightly ribbed. It's an heirloom. It's the fruit's weight is 150 grams, and it has a very, very sweet, smoky flavour to it. It grows 1.8 meters high. So that's Paul Robinson. Now, the last one is orange cherry in the garden harvest. Now, orange cherry again is another heirloom variety, another indeterminate type. So tall growing, grows 1.6 meters high, and it has a sweet flavour, and they're obviously on trusses by the look of the label. So orange heirloom, 1.6 meters high, and it's has a very, very sweet flavour. So they're the 3 new tomatoes in the garden harvest range. Okay, now Gourmet Harvest. Now Gourmet Harvest is a range that is exclusive to Oasis Horticulture. I haven't seen many other people who have this sort of product. It's a 125 ml pot, and it has 9 pots in a tray, and it carries unusual lines like really incredibly long trusses, or a truss tomato that has 2 trusses per stem. Unusual things, or extremely large fruit is in this range. Now, the first one is Tomato Little Bing. Now, all these are small growing, so they're suitable for people who don't have gardens because of what Kathy said before. The trends are blocks are getting smaller. So we've got to cater for that market. So Tomato Little Bing. Tomato Little Bing is a cherry size tomato, but it's a little bit bigger than a cherry sized tomato, but the plant itself will only grow about 60 centimeters tall, but the width of it can be up to about 90 centimeters. It's a hybrid. It's high producing, and it has a high flavor. So that's Little Bing. The next one is Tomato Little Sicily, another small growing tomato, again 60 centimeters in height, but the fruit itself is known for its slicing. It's something that you chop up and put into a sandwich, for example. So it's 60 centimeters high. It's a hybrid. It's a determinate variety, and the fruit size is 85 to 113 grams in size. So it has a reasonable size fruit on a tiny little plant, and you get a lot off it. The next one is Capsicum Candy Cane Chopped Cherry. Now, this capsicum starts off green with white stripes and will go to chocolate with red stripes as it matures. Again, it's only small growing. It's only 60 centimeters high. The fruit size is 99 to 129 grams in size. It's fruit. It's around about, if you imagine a fist sort of a size, it's not a big capsicum, but it's not a small capsicum either. And the foliage is variegated, which is very unusual for a capsicum. So it's got variegated foliage. The last one is called Strawberry Summer Breeze White Snow. We do a series of different coloured strawberries, one called Ruby Ann, another one called Rose Red. We do Supreme and Liz, so this adds to it. It's about a 10 centimetre flower size for a strawberry, and it's white, but the flowers are a semi-double flower size. And you'll get a lot of flowers between summer and autumn. So it's free flowering. So it's attractive while it's producing. So that is the white snow. So it's about 10 cent size flowers. Got the next slide, Kathy. Okay, this is what we were talking about before, how we've improved our petunia range. If you have a look at the flowers, if you can see the flowers are virtually touching each other. That's what this particular new range is coming out. So we've got them in punnets and we've also got them in baskets. They're all in black baskets, and you can, when you buy them, you can mix them up. You can go for the blue and you can have the coral. It's a pack size too. But yes, they'll flower a lot quicker and a lot more flowers. So again, we've changed our petunias because we had an opportunity of improving them. We've done the same thing with our calibrachoa baskets. So this is a 270 ml basket. The petunias were a 270 ml basket. They have larger flowers. They're a little bit more manding in habit, spreading. They will flower a lot quicker than the previous series. They're a lot tougher. I think that's about it, but they're a lot tougher. Flower sizes are a lot bigger. And yeah, like I said, they're in 270 ml baskets and you can mix them. The colors are purple, yellow, I think red and pink, I think, yes.
Where would calibrachoa sit in volume compared to petunias, Malcolm?
Well, it's a good question. At the beginning of the season, because you usually see calibrachoas a little bit later, it will start off, you'll see a lot of petunias, but we sell a lot of calibrachoa baskets, especially around that Christmas time when it is warm. They're a perennial, but in Melbourne, when it gets cold, there's good chances of losing it in Melbourne, but up north, they can be a permanent perennial.
They'd hold the wet weather better, wouldn't they, than a petunia?
They would, yeah.
Yeah, I love them.
They're a lot tougher.
Yep. We had one grow for 3 years in the cracks of our brick paving. Every year it popped up again for 3 years until the dog finally destroyed it. So they're tough even in Melbourne.
Yeah, it depends on where I reckon it depends on where they are.
Yeah, probably. Yep.
Like if it was close, where it got a bit of protection, maybe.
Very good, thank you.
Next one. Okay, this one is a line that is exclusive to us. We're very lucky to get it. Begonia urban. Now it's a tuberous begonia type. We're doing it in a 270 ml baskets, but we've only got a limited amount of plugs. We've got access to all of them, but there's not going to be a lot of it. What can I say? If you have a look, it's got a normal tuberous begonia leaf, but the flower is a little bit different to a normal tuberous begonia. You also probably notice in one of the pictures, the flowers tend to weep. So it'd be awesome in a basket where you can look up from underneath. But they can be a perennial. Again, it depends on where it is.
Yeah, this image, so Graham Ross from Better Homes and Gardens came up and filmed up on site back in May. And so there are actual trial products that we had. They just look stunning. So that was back in May, late May. They were beautiful. So yeah, we're definitely bringing them out a bit. They'll be later this year because they're kind of usually more January, February type products. But yeah, they look stunning, and we're pretty excited about releasing these onto the market.
Yeah, so there's a number of colours: bi-colour apricot, sky white, city red, bi-colour cream, and city pink. And they're all you put them in like a filtered light sort of a position. The flower size can be up to 7 centimetres in flower size as well. So they have a reasonable flower size on them. And that's all the new products for this season.
Excellent.
So just touch on some of the advertising. We always like to continue to support the Garden Clinic magazine, so we will do that throughout the year with our flowering packs, so 4, 6, and 10 pack. But also, once the new releases come with the petunias and the Garden Harvest and Gourmet Harvest, they will go into the Garden Clinic, and we promote internally with Groundswell and NNG News. We will also have online campaigns with social media, our YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook pages, and we're looking at videos at the moment with a couple of influencers. Yeah,
any particular influencers, Kathy? Who do you reckon's the best?
We look, there's a few that we've been working with. Chloe Thompson.
Yep.
We work with Chloe maybe a little bit.
Yep.
There's a guy called Justin. He's an urban farmer. He's up here in New South Wales, and then Connie from Connie and Luna in Melbourne. But we're also looking at there's a lady whose name eludes me, but she's caught up on the rooftop. So we're looking at working with her. So we will send that information out once we lock that in. It's been a little bit problematic over the last 2 years with lockdowns and stuff. But yeah, we will lock that in and communicate that as we finalise those plans.
That'd be good. Do you find the influencers are expensive? Do they charge a heap when they do something, or depends on what they do, I guess? No?
It all depends on a few different things. How big they are, how big their followers are.
Yep.
How much we ask them to do. Like, is it 1 post, 5 posts? Are they stories? All their rate cards are all different. Right. So when we first approached Justin, the urban, he's like the urban gardener. He had a really big following of 30 or 40,000. He hadn't worked with anyone before. So we were kind of one of the first businesses he worked with, and he was doing it for free product. Right. But then Connie and Luna, Connie has maybe 80,000 followers, and she was a little bit more like about $1,000. Right. So for a product, but you've got a story and a couple of posts. So it just depends on the social media, the influencer. Yep. Themselves. And also, we look at their engagement. We ask them for their rate cards. Yes. And then we just work out, what we can afford, what's within our budget. Also, some of them might have big followings, but they have low engagement. So we can see that through their rate cards and the information they send us. So it's about reaching out to a few of them, and then looking at who's the best fit and who fits within your budget. So.
Okay, thank you, because we were looking at some for Garden Relief Program sometime a bit later in the year. Okay, that's terrific.
I'm happy to share some of that information with you.
Okay, thank you.
Problem. Yeah, definitely. And just, I think that's my last slide. Yeah, so we have got our new website, which we've launched for those that might have got the comms. So go on, have a look. And what we do have coming very imminently in the next 2 to 3 weeks is we will have an option for people to order online. So we're going digital. We'll still have the old system that we have now, where we send out the avail twice a week, and you can fax, scan, phone your orders back in. But we will have an option for people just to log on and place their orders online, and you can see real time the availability and the products that are available.
Sound good.
Yeah. So that's coming soon. That's it from me.
Thanks, Kathy. Is there any questions from anybody on any of that stuff?
got to be a question somewhere. Who's going to be first? Be brave. Go on, don't be shy. Come on, Paul, you must have a question. Put you on the spot.
When's the full range available in terms of tomatoes, like the first stage, and then obviously getting into the grafted stuff? Like
Okay. Well, the tomatoes have already started, but we start off with, in August, we always start off with small production numbers. By September, you'll see a lot higher numbers on your avail. So does that answer your question?
I want to just build on that a little bit. We have actually grafted on the avail now.
Yeah.
So just be, ring up the customer service guys and say, can I place an order for the grafted? Because we're doing it. We're not doing it throughout the whole season. Yep. We're doing it for a limited, I think 6 weeks, and it's started already. So the grafteds have started. In regards to the new lines, I don't know how much you would have heard, but there's been a lot of issues in importing seed, tomato seed into the country, yes. So the tomatoes, we're not going to actually see them until October, November this year, the new line.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, based on all the issues that the suppliers have been having, getting that stuff into the country. So most of the lines we actually won't see from October till November.
Okay.
Okay.
Anybody else? Robin, you're always good for a question. No? All questions answered?
No, thank you.
Somebody else? Don't be shy. Well, I think Malcolm and Kathy, you've wowed them, and they've no questions. They obviously heard it all. Terrific. So thank you very much. I appreciate that. If this recording works, which it looks as though it is this time, we'll be putting this up. And I think, Kathy, are you going to send to Julie your PowerPoint up, maybe as a PDF or something? We can load it onto the Garden Relief website and put a link in next week. And if it's possible for me just to get a couple of your new release images, if you could send them to me, and we'll use that as a lead into the link for this presentation in next week's e-news, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, and I'd love that influencer stuff later on. No hurry.
Yeah, we can talk offline about that.
Yeah, okay.
Also, before we go, Anne-Marie Sheehan is just popped on. She's from Oasis as well.
Yep.
Remiss of us not to introduce her earlier. Anne-Marie is a sales rep that's come on board she's been with us for a while, but she's coming to the dark side to look after our independent garden centres in Victoria. So some of you may, Anne-Marie, you might get a call from Anne-Marie. So I just wanted to, there she is, just take the opportunity to introduce her.
Hi, Anne-Marie.
Afternoon.
So who's going to be the Garden Inspiration Group representative from Oasis? Anybody know at this stage?
We will, that's a David Jacobs question.
Yeah, but he'll be in Sydney, so we need somebody in Melbourne.
Yeah, look, we'll come back. We'll take that question up with David and we'll come back to you on that one.
Okay, because we're due to start some planning pretty soon, even though it's not until March, but anyway.
Yeah, no, David will have information for that.
Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. Malcolm, Kathy, everybody else from Oasis and the people who participate. Appreciate that. Really appreciate your time. Look forward to a fantastic spring, which I'm very confident it will. You just need to be ready and waiting, because as we all know, when it kicks, if you're not ready, well, you miss out. So make sure you've got the stock. And there we go. I'll just see if I can, here we go. The recording is still going. So I will stop this recording and you can all go back and do whatever you're doing. Thank you very much once again. Thank you.